Who were some of the biggest steals from the 2021 NFL draft class? Well, I'm going to give you my top 20. And who am I? Well, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Baroshmo, just in case you did not know. And I'm going to give you my top 20 steals from the 2021 NFL draft. And this is based on where they were on my big board and where they ended up getting drafted. And some real good steals ended up just missing the cut, like Christian Barmore, Azeez Ojulari. I mean, JOK and De'Ami Brown literally just missed that top 20. But let's go ahead. Let's get into 20, Quentin Miners. So it seemed that the hype on Quentin Miners was about the second round area. I was willing to put there based on, where Ali Marpet ended up going, but he ended up sneaking into the back half of the third round there. Ended up being a great pickup for the Broncos that maybe be an eventual replacement or at least some competition for, who is it? Is it Lloyd Cushenberry, right? Yeah, who was just awful last year. So he was a rookie. So, worst case scenario, this is good competition. He's got some, Miners, he has some interior versatility, but he ended up getting drafted 39 spots lower than I anticipated. Great value there. And who else got drafted 39 spots lower? Well, it was Ifeatu Melifonwu. He ended up going to the Lions. Lions had a great draft. I don't know if he fell because of maybe how Obi worked out in the NFL, but again, they tried to make Obi a safety rather than a corner. Melifonwu might need some development, but he was a phenomenal pick at 101, so good on the Detroit Lions. And then coming in next, I have Wyatt Davis. Ended up falling to the the middle third round. I had him at 43 overall on my board. Ended up being great value. Part of the reason I think he fell was just because last year he wasn't the same player he was in 2019. He was down the stretch. I mean, he shut down Christian Barmore for the first half of that national championship game until he got hurt. Then he had to leave the game. But he didn't start out well. I don't know if he really has any versatility on this. I don't think he can play center. But he's not going to be asked to. He's going to end up playing left guard, I assume, there for Minnesota. But great value. Next, we got Jalen Darden going to the Bucks, man. The rich just get richer. That's pretty good value based on, AB and his run-in with the law, apparently. But, man, Jalen Darden, I knew he was going to fall. I had him at 85 overall on my board. I knew no team... I don't want to say I knew. I assumed no team would be willing to take a undersized slot-only guy out of North Texas on day 2. He ended up, in fact, falling to day 3, but extraordinary value based on where he was on my board. And then Brevin Jordan. Yeah, that's right. The Texans. They actually they had a sleeper in this draft. Kind of, sort of. Because it's easy to understand why Brevin Jordan fell. Because a lot of his snaps, he took them in the slot this past season. So he's not going to be your prototypical blocking tight end, But he did put on some weight, but he ended up testing out at his pro day. Not like he just ended up not testing out like the physical specimen that everyone assumed him to be. So I think that maybe turned off some teams, but the Texans, they ended up getting a great value in a draft where your first pick isn't until the third round. It's important to get value with those day 3 picks, especially if those are the only picks you're going to be getting. But let's talk about Tylan Wallace, man. He ended up falling to the 4th round, right? Well, day 3, early day 3. I was shocked. I thought he would have at least gone at the back end of the 3rd round. Ended up not being the case. And I like this. I really like this for Baltimore. They got Rashad Bateman as well. So Wallace, he could be a solid slot. He could play on the outside. He gives them a bit of versatility, especially with Devin Duvernay. They brought in Sammy Watkins. So now they actually kind of stacked the receiving position. By no means do we know at least they have a stud there, a receiver. Bateman could be that. I think Bateman could be very good. But Tylan Wallace ended up falling, and I couldn't really tell you why. His testing, it was all right. Maybe it's the short arms. I don't know, but He ended up falling to 131. Trey Brown, next on this list. Seahawks. Talk about teams that didn't have a lot of picks. They had 3 picks. Dwayne Eskridge, in my opinion, was a reach. Not Trey Brown. They got great value. I knew he was going to fall just because of his size. And it sucks because, like, he has seen a ton of press reps there at Oklahoma. He was one of the most tested corners in college football, being, for the most part, almost a 4-year starter there. But yeah, his size, I knew a lot of teams would probably look at him and be like, he's probably a slot in the NFL. I think in the right system, he can play on the outside. I don't know if the Seahawks are that right system for him to play on the outside. I won't put it past him, though. If anything, you're getting a really good slot corner, so I love the value here. And I loved the value of Elijah Molden. I couldn't believe he fell as far as he did, and the Titans ended up grabbing his steal. Apparently at his pro day, maybe there were some character things. They thought maybe he was a little douchey, so to speak. I don't know if that's really the case. That's just some of the stuff I've heard. But screw that. I love Elijah Molden. He was hands down the best slot corner in this whole class. He might have the capability to play deep. I think he can. We only saw it a handful of times there in 2020 at Washington. But worst case scenario, you're getting one of the best slot corners. And I think that's what ended up happening, going back to Trey Brown, that a lot of guys that the NFL perceived as slot corners only ended up falling, as we'll see with another pick later on here. But before we get into my next sleeper, go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content or if you appreciate the content, and become a bro and subscribe. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below, by the way. Who are some of your sleepers? But let's get back to the video. And then who do we got? Davion Nixon going to the Panthers. And I mean, they have really invested on that defensive line, especially the interior. Because when they got Bravion Roy, Derek Brown last year, bringing in Daquan Jones, I thought was really good. And now they bring in Davion Nixon, who I'm not surprised he fell, because he's a guy that I think might take a little time to develop. And I don't know, man. Are you willing to wait 3-4 years when he could actually emerge as at least a player that you can bring into the rotation, into the lineup? That was the thing with it for me, because there were plays he disappeared at times. But regardless, you love the physical upside. You love the explosiveness he has displayed there at Iowa. But I think that's why he ended up falling, just because I think he might really be a project. And typically you don't want to take those projects until day 3. So, but we're going to stick to the interior with Marlon Tuipulotu. And the Eagles surprised me. They really started addressing the defensive line. I don't know, maybe we're going to see a mass exodus next year so they could shed some contracts on the defensive line. But they got great value in Tuipulotu. I was a big fan of his. I think worst case scenario, you're getting a very good run stopper. I do think he has some pass rushing upside. We saw a little bit of that in 2020. But yeah, I mean, literally going 62 picks later than I thought he should have. That's great value. And then Rashad Weaver going to the Titans. Titans get another one here. Great value. I thought he should have gone day 2. His skill set just translates exceptionally well to the NFL. It's just not one that ends up getting drafted highly. As we see, he goes 135. But he's a very powerful rusher. But that is probably what he is going to do. Is he's an edge setter. He's going to set the edge. He's going to play the run well. And that's where I like him. I like him in that role there for Washington as maybe a 3-4 end, or maybe you even line him up over the tackle to kind of set the edge. So great value for the Titans. We're going to keep this sucker rolling with Jabril Cox. I love Cox, baby. This was a great pick. It's a shame he's going to be buried on that depth chart, but best believe passing downs, this guy's going to come out, because he was one of the best coverage linebackers in this class. I was shocked that he fell to day 3. I had him as 47th overall on my board. So, yeah, man, I really like what I like. I bet, like, it's weird Dallas really addressing linebacker in this class with, I feel like Parsons, they were kind of forced into Parsons because, well, they got sniped the top 2 corners in the class right in front of them. So they ended up trading down and getting Parsons, who is a top 10 talent, in my opinion. And then you just couldn't deny the value here of Jabril Cox. So it was a great value pickup for Dallas. And then I have Damar Hamlin, man. He actually fell a lot later than I thought he would. I mean, for me, he was a box safety. Like, he's a box safety only. And typically those guys, I feel better about going early day 3 unless they're extraordinarily good. Then maybe in the late 3rd or somewhere in that area. But he ended up falling significantly. I think Buffalo got great value. I mean, their safeties there, they have for the next few years, but they are up there in age. I don't mind them just strengthening that position, making sure you got guys on the back end, just in case of injury or just even to rotate in. I thought Hamlin was an excellent pickup. And then Seth Williams here, man. He was a pretty darn good pickup for the Denver Broncos, man. Broncos, they had a quality draft in their own right. Another guy that almost made the list was Baron Browning. He just missed it, though. The closest guys were De'Ami Brown and JOK, though. They were literally 21 and 22 on my list. But, man, I did not expect, I thought I was low on Seth Williams compared to where the NFL was, and he ended up going over 100 picks later than where I had him on my board. Wild. I get it. I think the NFL has fallen out of love with contested catch guys, especially if you're not very good contested catch guys in college. That was kind of the case, man. Granted, he had Bo Nix, who his ball placement's kind of like everywhere, so he wasn't exactly given the best jump balls because that's kind of his thing. This dude's got great ups. He shedded some bad weight. I thought he had in 2019. I thought there was a lot of bad weight on him, and he shedded 10 pounds. He was looking much better. Didn't really help as a separator, but at least he's trying. I thought that was still worth the shot, given athletic, physically, this guy's pretty impressive. So, yeah, I thought it was just a great pick at 219. And then Jamar Johnson, dude. No one saw Jamar Johnson falling this far. And I think I'm gonna talk about this with a couple other picks we got left here, that I think the NFL, if you were guys that had some good upside, but your sample size was very little, I don't think the NFL was willing to take a shot on those guys. Jamar Johnson, this guy, he only had 700 snaps between 2 seasons to his name. And he didn't exactly test out that well at the pro day, or at least compared to what we thought, because he looks way more athletic on film. He is a ball hawk, and this is just Denver. They got a lot of good value in this class. They really, really did. I like what they did with their draft. But yeah, Jamar Johnson falling all the way to 164 was pretty shocking. He almost made my top 50. And then I got Khalil Herbert, dude. I was shocked that this guy fell. I was shocked that some other names went ahead of him because he was fabulous. I feel like he is, his style of game and just what he does translates well to the running back position in the NFL. He made my top 100. He goes at 217. I think the Bears got one heck of a steal there. He's got a low center of gravity. He breaks tackles exceptionally well. And guess what? Here's the cherry on top. The man, his straight line speed is pretty top notch. Just what he does translates well to the NFL. I think any team would welcome some guy with that skill set to their running back room. Yeah, there's no passing upside, but I was really shocked that he didn't go higher than this. I was really flabbergasted. And then Patrick Johnson, like I said, the Eagles, they really addressed the defensive line here, especially with Patrick Johnson, man. And for me, sample size wasn't a thing with him. Like, he was like been a 3 or 4 year starter there at Tulane, but like, and he tested out pretty darn well. He doesn't have the ideal arm length, but for me, it is what it is. Like, I still think that's worth like at least a rotation guy or a guy you could develop. But like, he tested out well. Like, I was just shocked. I couldn't believe he went that far. So Eagles, they got actually 2 quality steals on the defensive line. And then we got the Bears here again with Thomas Graham Jr. And this is where I was talking about slot-only corners, or at least guys that were perceived as slot-only corners. I mean, let's not. Thomas Graham is a slot-only guy, though. They ended up going later in the draft, like 228 for Thomas Graham. Like, I thought a team, because slot corner is a starting position in the NFL nowadays, and I thought maybe teams kind of bucked that trend when we saw Amik Robertson go in the 3rd round last year. But you got to keep in mind, that's the Raiders. The Raiders are different from the rest of the NFL. They just are. So, yeah, man. Bears get a really good slot corner. I'm telling you, this guy probably could start from day one if they want him to. He's going to compete, and I'm just saying, there's not great depth there at corner for the Bears. So they did good. And then Trey Smith, man, the Chiefs got exceptional value here. We all know he fell because of the the blood clots in his lungs, the medical red flag. It really hurt his development. He had to miss a lot of off seasons with Tennessee there. But I think for the most part, what he put out there on tape when playing left or right guard, it was great. It was good. It was worthy of a day 2 pick. And he ends up going here near the back end of day 3. I thought was just exceptional value. Great 6th round pick by the Chiefs. But he wasn't my top sleeper. My top steal. I guess not sleeper, but steal. Tay Gowan, man. I was saying this. If you were here live with me during the draft stream, I was just like, what's up with Tay Gowan? And this kind of goes into what I was talking about with, who was I talking about with? Jamar Johnson. Sample size. We only saw 2019. He ended up having to opt out of 2020. So we only saw his play in 2019 because he was, I think a former JUCO. Before that, he was Miami, Ohio. So the level of competition wasn't really there either compared to like a Jamar Johnson who's playing in the Big Ten with, at Central Florida, you're only playing like, the group of 5 schools. So, but I mean, what he put on tape in 2019, like, he shut down Simi Fehoko. Like, he was a big part of why that Stanford team went into Central Florida and lost. But yeah, he was going to play 2020. He wasn't one of those guys that wanted to opt out. He was taking part in off-season practice, and he ended up actually contracting the Rona. And when he got healthy, he was like, man, I got people that are in my household, I don't want to put them at risk. So he ended up doing that. I could appreciate that. It would have been nice to see him on the field, but it is what it is. Cardinals, they traded up, got a steal. I liked this. I had him higher than Marco Wilson, best believe it. So I like that. One of those 2 guys, they're going to end up working out at corner. Both are very talented. Tay Gowan at least has the good tape. But yeah, that's those are my steals for the draft. And that's it for the video. Hopefully you made it all the way through the end with me. But yeah, do that YouTube thing. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.